pretty amazing what one result can do to change outside perception, but also some Liverpool fans' perception of players, managers, atmosphere, progress, all those kind of things. And I wanted to address a little bit of that alongside evaluating some of Liverpool's best performers and some of the reasons why actually beating Manchester United isn't all that much to get that excited about. Welcome back to Laurence McKenna channel. Good to have you guys. If you've not already hit the Patreon or the Discord, you're welcome to do so. And don't subscribe until you think it's worth it. I want subscribers who are actually going to engage in a good chat here. Liverpool have just absolutely drummed Manchester United, despite the fact that it didn't really look like they came out of third gear at any point during the game at Old Trafford, handing Erik ten Hag yet another frustrating result. Not only is it satisfying to beat a team that we struggled against last season and a team that beat us, obviously, in the FA Cup, but also it's exciting to see Liverpool working Manchester United out, playing them on the front foot, and frankly, quite casually winning at Old Trafford with a level of confidence and swagger that I think we really need to acknowledge. As a fan base, I think there was a weird moment. I said it to Daniel on the stream, which is now only available for members. Here's the thing. We are swaggering out at Old Trafford. Van Dijk looks confident today. Van Dijk looks like he knows what they're going out there to do. He knows that when a ball comes over the top, you do this. Konaté's got this, you've got that. And I'm not saying I was, like supremely confident. I'm always worried that Old Trafford Liverpool might slip up, or any team would. Manchester United have always got that Manchester United factor, even if the aura is gone. But as soon as I saw the way that Manchester United were playing, out the back of their initial little flurry of chances and trying to get on the front foot, which possibly was just them going, let's try and get on the front foot, and if we sneak something, we can just sit on the back foot and Liverpool might not score. I knew that Liverpool were in a great position for the rest of the game. And I'm going to talk through all the different stages that I went through. First of all, weirdly, early on and kind of later on in the game, Liverpool were allowing a lot of passes through midfield, but then instantly you come up against either one of Gravenberch or McAllister, or Szoboszlai's just like weirdly running around and winning the ball back, kind of surprising players coming from behind and those kind of things. But then you've also come up against a unit of the two centre-backs who frankly look bigger than they did last season. Both of them look skinnier. Both of them look very much like they're in control all the time. And weirdly, even when Manchester United counter-attacked, and even when they had some of their best moments, and I know that we conceded two big Josh Zirkzee chances, Van Dijk and Konaté never really looked all that bothered. And even the header that went straight to Alisson, I know that probably would have been like oh, has the game changed? No. But say he got it on target and Alisson hadn't have managed to save it. Even then, I think Liverpool look incredibly comfortable. Liverpool haven't conceded a goal now in 3 games. I get it. One's against Ipswich, one's against Brentford, and one's against Manchester United. Sure. But they've also conceded some of the lowest XG in the league leading up to the Manchester United game. Obviously, small sample size, over 2 games, over 2 teams that were struggling to get a striker out there anyway. But the point is that Liverpool are now the only team in the Premier League without having conceded a goal. And they're also the only team in the league where, when you look at it, both of their fullbacks are incredibly attacking and not really all that defensively minded. There were times where Trent's legs were sort of getting a bit crossed over, and Robbo was very much down the field, struggling to get back. There were times where you could see that Manchester United were deliberately targeting the Trent side, but Konaté just looked so supremely comfortable. Honestly, there wasn't a moment where I felt that Konaté was out of place, looking uncomfortable, even had to really break a jog or a slight, I might sprint in a second type mentality. And even Alisson coming out of his goal, which is what Onana is meant to be doing on the other end, looked very comfortable. Liverpool were just snuffing out fires before they even started. And you can tell that is a defence which not only, I think, played in extreme anxiety sometimes under Klopp because of the way that he asks his players to play, but now the contrast to that with Slot is, right, let's try and keep this core unit in these exact areas and we're just going to nullify. He's very good at nullifying opposition tactics, and it's exactly the way it worked against Erik ten Hag today. By the way, he's now 3 against 2 in terms of wins versus losses against Erik ten Hag over his Feyenoord into his Liverpool era. Satisfying for us, obviously. Satisfying for the manager. I'm going to get onto the Salah thing in a minute. I'm going to get onto everything else. Let's talk a little bit about the other great players in it. I want to talk about the Gravenberch performance. Mr. Everywhere, as he was being called in my chat. And not only that, but he was being praised for a lot of his interceptions. Last season, he was probably the most maligned midfielder outside of, I don't know, I can't think of another more maligned midfielder. A lot of people are going, we thought we had potential. We thought we could be this. We thought we could be that. He's now under a coach who clearly wants to favour him in that position and is trying to intensively get him up to the level that Liverpool need him at. I'm not saying that we don't need another central defensive midfielder who could play that role, because say Gravenberch gets injured, would McAllister be able to play that role in the same way? Would Szoboszlai then have to drop back? Would that mean Harvey Elliott's in midfield? Does that work slightly differently? We might be one injury away from completely dismantling huge parts of the system, and the system is very reliant on all the pieces working collectively. But, I suppose we can't address that. That's hypothetical. I can't blame the manager for having fit players in those areas at those times. But I think he looks great defending. Now, I think Manchester United made him look good in that area, but he also looks very aware that he's able to win a free kick just by going down. He's able to just slalom through midfield. He was very aware that Mainu was their biggest attacking threat and that Casemiro's passing was a weakness. These little tactical intricacies that I think Liverpool probably would have picked up on last season, they just seem like the players are a little more confident at nullifying but also executing against the opposition. On the other side of that, I think McAllister had a much better game. Still not a perfect game. There's still a couple of times where you think, okay, it's looking a bit more like we're trying to force it on that left side, whereas Gravenberch looks a little bit more comfortable. Maybe that's partially because of the extended role of Diaz and where he starts to play, but also because Trent is coming down the right and giving Liverpool a lot there. Konate is able to push on. It's sort of the overall shape of the team. McAllister's got a slightly more compressed role and situation to operate in, and it means that he's immediately in more trouble or immediately under more pressure when receiving the ball. And it also means that other players are more available because people know that they're going to try and pressure when Liverpool get the ball out like that. So I think sometimes our eyes can fool us. Immediately ahead of that, I love Szoboszlai. His hurried nature, his readiness to win the ball back, his awareness of the games, all those kind of things look incredible. I really love just the overall vibe that he's given off right now. And I had this thing on Sky Sports the other day where it was like, oh, is he better than Fernandes? I think this game has proven that systems really make players. And as good as it is to see the great forward passing stats of Bruno Fernandes and the great moments he creates, we saw that he was nullified today. And ultimately he was frustrated. His approach changed. He got very angry. And Liverpool nullified him yet again. And at this point, I'm just kind of bored of talking about, oh, well, is Szoboszlai really that good? He has highlight games and then not. It's such a simplistic way of talking about Szoboszlai's season. I know he looked a bit flat at times, but really, Klopp was playing him slightly out of position in a midfield where he was asked to sacrifice a lot of his game. It looked a little bit one-dimensional at times, and now Slot has given these guys very defined roles, and it's really working within the team. I don't think we've played a good midfield yet in any of the first three games. I think we played challenging midfields, but not good ones, which are going to try and move the ball through us. When we play City, because we've got City and Real Madrid within a couple of days, when we play those guys, real challenge. When we play Arsenal, real challenge. Arsenal coming out 6-7 games from now, I think away from home as well. Those are real challenges. Then we'll see whether Szoboszlai is so free to be able to do this. Then we'll see whether Salah is as free against a Calafiori or against a Julian Timber. And then on the other side, you've got Diaz. What a player. I'll talk about Salah in a minute. When we see Diaz, I think, again, similar to Gravenberch, he was being played in a position where he was asked to do things which he was good at, but were not maximising his brilliance. His scoring is a brilliant part of his game. No one's talking about his finishing now, are they? Because he had 2 headers at the back post. We clearly picked that weakness in the United game, attacked it, and it worked multiple times. Szoboszlai, Diaz were there for the first goal. His great finish for the second. The fact that he was getting in behind United for that chalked off goal for Trent, which Salah touched. Maybe if Salah hadn't touched, that's not an offside. Maybe he's active, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, it's frustrating because he's so good now. And I know there was a lot of chat about how good he would be, but I've got to admit, and I know obviously Cody Gakpo came on, he had a couple of opportunities, we were trying to play him into the game. By then the game wasn't as open. You kind of feel like you're getting not the junk minutes, but like harder minutes because the team has sort of sat back a little bit off Liverpool then. Feels a bit unfair to judge Gakpo and Nunez on those minutes. If they started games, if it was a bit more open, if Liverpool could play to their strengths, I think they'd probably play better. But the point is, I think now what we're really seeing is Slot has found multiple ways to unlock oppositions. When we want to pass it short, when we want to just, intricate pieces, Salah's able to do that. Diaz is able to do that. He's able to coach these players and get the best out of them. And not only that, he's done it really, really quick. Again, I'll caveat all of this by saying at some point, someone's going to work us out. At some point, someone's going to go, this is how Liverpool move forward. Let's try this. That's why maybe Diaz, Nunez, Gakpo, Salah, Jota, Chiesa wasn't even played today. He was sat in the stands looking satisfied up there. will have to earn their money. And I think we will get sat deep against multiple times. I think we will have people try to frustrate us, which I think is fair enough. But also I think United aren't really that good. And frankly, I wouldn't get that excited about winning against them right now. They're a team low on confidence. They're a team that look like they are miles off being really at their very best. They're a team who are very injured right now. They didn't have Uarte, they didn't have Yoro. They brought on Harry Maguire as a sub. They brought on Collier as a sub. They were not really bringing on anyone you ever thought was a great threat. I know Ahmad's a good player, but Liverpool aren't realistically looking at him and thinking, oh, you're going to change the game. And I think that hamstrings them a little bit. Alongside that, I think Xerxes, I think he created some really good opportunities there. I'm going to make a separate Manchester United video on my other channel, but here's the point. He created some opportunities that will be alarms to Konate and Van Dijk. I'm not saying they were flawless. I think Konate was close to flawless, and I think Van Dijk was very good, but I think there are a few times where we allowed them to cross the ball too easily from the wide positions because of where Trent is, or where Bradley is, or where Robertson or Tsimikas on the other side are. And of course we're going to concede crosses. But I think we have to realise when there's a better finisher there like Haaland, when there's a better finisher there like maybe Havertz, there will be trouble. So we need to look at that. Trent, Salah is my next two things. Trent, I thought was fantastic again today. There are a couple of times where he tried to play a long ball and Manchester United cut them out. Teams working us out. Teams working out what Trent's trying to do. Him taking risks. He's paid to take risks, so that's great. Maybe he'll be paid more to take risks soon. This is kind of the point. Liverpool know that. And when Manchester United won the ball back, you could see they were all trying to get back into a position to be able to win the ball back again. Multiple people converge on one player. You can see it today. Liverpool have signed players who are excellent at standing tackles, excellent at winning the ball back in a press type scenario. Pressing is not just about tackling. Pressing is about using your shadow, about kind of herding players into the right areas, and then about winning it back, standing up, getting in the way of those players, and making sure that when they're on the floor, you're running away down the other end. And Manchester United reacted badly every time they lost the ball, which definitely played into Liverpool's hands. Now let's talk Salah's comments. Salah's comments post-game on Sky Sports were very frank. I think he's hung out with a Dutch person too much, and he's being too honest. But at the same time, it doesn't really change Liverpool's position. Liverpool are still yet to offer him a new contract, and if they don't, then fair enough. There's clearly been a conscious decision made there at Liverpool. Whether that comes from the top or whether it comes from Edwards or any of these guys, I'll be interested to know. I think at this point, it's hard to speculate on that. Obviously, I'd love Mo Salah to finish his career at Liverpool. Obviously, I love him as a player. I think he's been prolific. He's one of the all-time greats. You can say all the cliches about Mo Salah, and I think he's having one of his best seasons. Today, he was a great assister, get multiple brilliant crosses to the back post, found himself in a great position, was pushed inside by Trent, is great on the inside, is great on the outside, was clearly a problem for Dalot, who, by the way, is not necessarily natural on that side anyway, so I felt a bit bad for him. But he's also a great player, and he's started the season so white hot. The real question is whether Liverpool can do that with another player. Now, Salah is somewhat of a unicorn in the numbers that he produces. But also, you're doing the analysis within the system where he has been allowed to thrive for years. What I would say is, the amount of games he starts, it's amazing. The amount of games that he plays well in, it's incredible. His consistent scoring record at Old Trafford, obviously getting that third goal, again, another great move, another great finish. Another great Liverpool performance of the intensity, or the very kind of mid-intensity paying off. The real thing I'd say is, I would love to see Salah retire at the club. But we cannot retire a player who is going to be on 350, 400, €500,000 euros, dollars, whatever you want to call it, a week. Because that's sentimental and it doesn't fit with the FSG/Michael Edwards/Richie Hughes system. He's very honest. I appreciate that personally, and I think it was pretty obvious, really, what was going to go on anyway. It didn't change any of what Liverpool are going to offer. It didn't change the air around the club. Everyone already knows that at Liverpool, whether he has or haven't been offered a new contract. Everyone already knows he's into the last year of his contract. Saying that publicly doesn't really change much. He didn't seem all that bothered about saying it. He did venture it himself, and he did seem to speak. He's spoken a few times now on Sky Sports and on other interviews about it being his last season. I think we expected that last year, but it feels even starker now that we're watching him play so well under Klopp into slot, that we are kind of now worried about losing him. I think Liverpool must have a succession plan there. We've sold a lot of players this summer. I'll be interested to see what comes in January, whether there are negotiations, whether there are ideas around what we're going to do, whether there is a succession plan. And would we feel better if there was a succession plan if, say, we knew who was going to come on that side, if we did like the look of Chiesa, all these kind of things. Chiesa, by the way, sitting in the stands today, huge smile on his face, looking like he's really enjoying life already, probably interested in seeing a team score more than 2 goals in their game and then just sitting back. It's interesting to watch this play out so publicly. And I know Salah obviously is a very proud person, but I don't think he's the kind of guy to kind of throw Liverpool under the bus. I think he's probably got a big deal waiting for him somewhere else if he wanted to leave. And I think at some point, Liverpool are going to have to look at what that situation is. But we don't know that yet. So commenting on it is kind of a fool's errand for any of us. But the fact he hasn't been offered a contract obviously makes me sad, doesn't make Liverpool wrong. There will be an assessment on a very basic level from our perspective, because we don't know what analysis they do, of cost, benefit, where does that finish? Some people in my chat today predicting a big January because we sold so many people over the summer. Some people even predicting that maybe we go back in for Zubimendi, that we go back in for another couple of other players we see who's available, who's having a good or bad season. I agree with that. Not that I think we're overly concerned about that at the moment, but I think a couple of injuries, a couple of games piling up, especially when you look, we've got Nottingham Forest, West Ham, then we go away to AC Milan, then we've got another couple of weird games going on. It's a tricky period for Liverpool, and I think now is not the time to assess the depth of the squad or the ability or any of those things. Do it when they're getting a bit tired, when there's a wear in the season, when players aren't playing fresh positions, they're playing the same positions, and they're bedding in. Will they improve? Will they become? Will they go back in some of their old habits? Is that possible under Slot? Are we seeing the difference? Is this like a Slot change in mentality? Is a change as good as the rest? It seems to be so far, as I've been saying for weeks, and other people are only just catching up on. And boy, is this one satisfying to stick it to all the people who said, "Hey, I don't actually think that Slot's all that good." It's early doors, right? But let's be real about this. We knew that Slot was a good coach. We knew that, as Liverpool fans, we knew that the change was going to do the team good. And we know that he's still feeling out this team, working out what it is that he wants them to do, working out how he wants them to play, tactically how it's going to work. He will explore this squad as he sees fit. And he will have time and space to do that. When we come back, it goes Premier League, League Cup, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League. Like, it'll go on and on and on. We've got 8 games in the Champions League. We've got multiple games obviously left, 35 left in the Premier League. There are so many games still left to come. This squad is going to get explored, believe me. And I just wouldn't get too carried away over a win over Manchester United. Feel good in the moment, celebrate it, rub it in. It shows the difference between a manager who's had a few weeks and a manager who's had a little amount of time to work, 3 years, to work with his players. Here's the thing. No new manager has ever gone away in the Premier League era as Liverpool manager and won at Old Trafford. And Slot has just put his name exclusively in that part of town. Pretty amazing, really, if you think about it. Finally, I want to talk about the Jota thing. Nunez is a great player. Love Nunez. I still wonder if in the long run his future is somewhere else. Genuinely, I do. And my reason being, I'm not sure he suits the Slot profile. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe later in the season we'll see him scoring lots of goals. Maybe there'll be games where the flux of it is slightly different, but it's not as chaotic as it used to be under Klopp, and I'm not sure he thrives under that in the same way. I think he's still transitioning. Remember, it took him a little time to transition from Benfica to Liverpool under Klopp ball. Now is this Slot ball he's going to struggle to transition to? There's times where he seems a little bit weird in the way he carries the ball. He does seem a bit like the odd one out, as some of my people in my chat were saying today. But I give him time, see what happens. Cody Gakpo, I think we'll see him explored in the team. Jota is a self-sacrificing position merchant who is very, very good at pulling players away with him, at movement in terms of being the decoy, at selfless play, should we basically put it that simply. And I love it. I love watching it. It's great. I wouldn't judge him on whether he scores or doesn't score. He didn't really have that many chances today because our real focus seemed to be cross the ball in, pass it here, get it there. It was basically about working around Jota rather than working through him. And here's the real test, which I think is so important. You saw the difference when he wasn't on the field as to the movement of the ball, the movement of the players. He's making these difficult runs. He's looking to be the head on. He's looking to be the player that you play off. When the ball comes down the field, he'll get it, play it off. That means you can't always be the next guy on. Szoboszlai is going to be the overtaking run. There are going to be lots of people who are going to be overlapping and overtaking him. So I won't get too worried about stats and all those kind of things. In a couple of years' time on TikTok or wherever the equivalent is, people will read out those stats and go, was he really that good? Or whatever it is. Screw those guys, I don't care. If it means that Liverpool win the game, if it means that we've got self-sacrificing players like we used to see with Gini Wijnaldum, like we used to see with Hendo, like we used to see with Fabinho in a self-sacrificing midfield, fantastic. I still think he's got lots more to offer, and I think there are games where he will have the opportunity to score goals. But when he doesn't, if everyone else is scoring around him, which is Salah, which is Diaz, whoever else, brilliant. We created chances for the midfield today as well, not long shots, but actual meaningful chances. And here's the thing, we dominated United's box time after time after time, and that's incredibly satisfying. Robert deserves a shout. I think he does a lot of the dog work down that side in order to push Diaz further on. Does a great job defending on that side, though didn't very often have to do that. Garnacho a couple of times cut inside. That worried me a little bit. I think other managers are going to see that and act on that, but we'll see. I think Slot's a pragmatic manager who seems to be very good at giving feedback to the players, very good at giving them instructions while they're out on the field in those positions, sort of working out where they are. He's good at giving them a pragmatism and a freedom to be able to work those things out. But at the same time, he's clearly given them, hey, when this pass goes, try this. Hey, when this guy's here, do this, and you'll be in space there. Players thrive on that kind of thing because it just gives them something, a blueprint to go off. And then when they're out there, they go, wow, this is actually working. Mourinho used to do that. Klopp's done it. Pep has always done it. Pep has called the game to a T. And I think as Liverpool fans, we're going to be able to call games more and more and more and more. 2-0, 2-0, 3-0. We will concede goals at some point. It will be much tighter. There'll be games where someone else goes 1-0 up from a surprise goal or whatever. But I think what we'll always know is that Liverpool, in this like third gear type scenario, have got that fifth gear to go to. I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see what we look like in full flow, because this isn't it yet. I kind of want to see what it feels like. I know people are going to go, well, so now we know it's Salah's last season. You'll never see him in full flow because he'll be guarding himself and all those kind of things. Screw those guys. There are loads of people who've made stupid, boring videos over the last few weeks trying to get your clicks about, oh, slots this, slots that, with barely any analysis, just trying to get your clicks. They'll be the same guys who, if Slot loses, if Liverpool lose, will jump on it and go, it's because they didn't make enough signings, because Slot this, Slot that. Yes, there are transitional eras and periods and all those kind of things. Yes, but when you've got a good coach, when there is clearly a financial plan with this side of selling all that youth and maybe bringing in a big signing, maybe replacing Salah's big contract that's gone with something else, all those kind of things, trust the process, at least for a little while, and see if the process works. I honestly, I don't think this is all that much to get excited about right now, but I'm interested to see what you think. I'll be doing some tactical analysis tomorrow. There'll be a Mo Salah video out later, and I'll chat to you guys in a little while. Much love. Bye.